Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of HR Talks, all about the recruitment from the recruiters itself. So, continuing with our series, today we have with us Miss Divya. So, ma'am, why don't you tell us something about yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Aditi. And thank you, CV. All. I really like this initiative. And I think what you're doing is trying to bring the candidates and the industry people come together and exchange their thoughts about what is expected from each one of them. Wonderful initiative. So thank you so much. And thanks for the opportunity to share some of my experiences too. Just to give you a quick introduction, I've been in the HR industry for about 20 plus years now, and I started my journey in recruitment for about 8 years. I was there, worked in companies like IntelliSoft Private Limited, Texas Instruments. Then I moved to McAfee, and in McAfee I got a break. After 8 years, I think I was lucky. So got an opportunity to work in a lot of other areas in HR. So my last 12 years journey has been mostly in compensation, benefits, HR systems, and analytics and operations. After McAfee, I moved to Flipkart, and then I started my own HR consulting firm. And one of my consultants gave me an opportunity to once again become a part of their organization. So now I am working with Cleartrip. And at Cleartrip, it's a global organization. We have our presence in 4 countries. So all these areas, right, the compensation, benefits, technology operations, and analytics, I head all these functions globally for Cleartrip as of now. That's a short introduction of myself.
That was great to know you, ma'am, everything about you, and we are glad to have you with us today. So, today, Divya ma'am has joined us to decode the interview processes and also help us answer some of the questions that we have in our mind when we are preparing for our interviews. So, ma'am, the first question that we have is, how do you define an ideal resume?
Okay. Okay. Before I get to that question, right, I will just share 4 of my personal stories, and 2 stories are my success stories, and 2 of them are situations where I didn't do a good job, right? So let's start with my failures first, or rather than calling failures, probably I'll say learnings first. So this was just right after my graduation. I did my business management, and immediately after that, I attended an interview. It's a company which is into export and import of pharmaceutical raw materials. So one of the questions was like, okay, Divya, can you tell me what is Gregor's theory of motivation? So anybody who has studied business management, you should know this is one of the most important theory that we study. And I didn't know. So I told him, sir, I don't know the answer to this. And he said, but you just finished writing your exams, right? I said, yeah, but I knew for sure this question will not come. And the second thing is, if at all it comes also, it will be an or question. And I'm confident that I'll answer the second one and not this one. That was one disaster. Okay. So let's go to the second story now. We'll keep these stories in mind because we can give reference to this as we converse more. Now move to the second story. So fine, I was very clear that I will get into the HR field, and somehow I got a break and joined a HR consulting firm, a recruitment consulting firm. It was 1.5 months since I had joined, and I'm pretty new to the recruitment field, just 1.5 months. And then there is an opportunity in one of the good popular IT organizations looking for a recruiter. And my ambitious mind, I immediately say, yeah, I should try this. So my 1.5 months of experience didn't matter. I thought I have achieved, I know it all, and I go and attend this interview. And one of the questions is like, okay, do you source resumes from job sites? I said, yeah. And the next question was, okay, which are the job sites you use? I'm stuck. I said, sorry, sir, I don't know. So this was the second disaster I did. And a lot of learnings from this. Of course, I didn't get a job there, but a lot of learnings from this. Again, we'll talk about the learnings a little later, right? These two are stories which are like two places where I really did very bad, and I learned a lot from it. Now, going to the success stories, right? I'm talking about like 20, 22 years back, in fact, 25 years back, where jobs were generally posted in an ad magazine. It was called as Ad Mag. I don't know if it is there all over India or if it was just in Bangalore, but one of the job that was posted was for a receptionist in a nursing home. I was still studying. I was in my first year graduation, and I badly want this job for my learning, and I feel it's an exposure. So I go for this interview, and I asked, like, can I meet the person who is going to interview me? So they allowed me, and it's a nursing home, so a doctor was interviewing. And she told me, Divya, but this is a full-time job. So you're still studying. So how do you want me to consider? So I said, ma'am, it's a request from my side. And this is a learning opportunity for me and an exposure, so it's a request. I told her, see, at any point of time, or at least in the peak hours, you should have two people in the reception. So you have two full-time resources. One will work from morning till evening, and the other one will work in split hours. Morning half and then evening half. I will come in the evening. So during your peak hours of morning and evening, there are two people in the reception, and in the lean period in the afternoon, there is only one person. I said, salary is not a constraint because I'm coming here for learning. Whatever you tell, I will not negotiate. I'll take what you give. So she liked the idea, and she liked, I think, my interest and the passion that I was showing towards learning and exposure. I got a job, and finally, I was doing part-time working in that nursing home for a few months. So this is another success story that I can share. Now coming to the fourth story. So this is a company which is into media and entertainment, and they were running a game show in it's one of the programs in the Sun Network, and they were looking for somebody who can. It's a game show, so when people feel they have won the game, they will give a call to these people, and they wanted someone who can pick up the call and talk to the person on the other side and say like, yeah, whether you have won or you have lost. So of course they wanted 20 people, and there were some 200 applications which had come in, and they had to filter and bring it down to 20. So the idea they used was they called all the 200 people into a room, and they said, okay, this is how the whole process will work, and what we want you to do is write down this process completely in a sheet of paper and give it to us. So we all wrote, and I also wrote, I gave. After they finished their evaluation, they came and said like, okay, we have the shortlist, and they called me separately and said, Divya, we are not going to do an interview for you, but you are selected. What was the difference there is, while everybody wrote the process in an essay format, I had written in a flowchart format. So as soon as they saw my sheet, they knew that I have understood the concept, and they didn't have to read through pages of explanation. The flowchart said it all. In a jiffy or within few seconds, they got to know that I have understood. So I got the job there, and I started working for them. And once again, this was during my college days. So these are a few stories that I wanted to share, and I'm sure you can gauge a lot of things from these stories, what is right and what is wrong. This in mind. Okay. Now coming to the question that you asked, Aditi. How would you define an ideal resume, right? So again, before going to the resume and the structure, the format or anything, let's understand some of the basics of what is hiring actually. So the three idiots style, right? The American style. So let's look at something in a very, very simple format. What is hiring? So in my mind, hiring is a selection process. It's a choice, and it's a choice for the company as well as well as a choice for the candidate, right? The company is trying to look for someone who can come in and solve their problem, and the candidate is trying to look for an organization which is going to fulfill his career dreams. So first thing that I want every job seeker to understand is both of you have a choice. It is not just the company, it is you as well. You have a choice. So feel confident, feel empowered, and both of you are on the same foundation. So start with that kind of a mindset, right? So now, what is a company looking for? A company is looking for, okay, I have these ABCD problems. I want somebody to come and solve it. So if somebody has to solve it, then they should have these skills and competencies. And that's where they are trying to find out who has these skills and competencies. And that is called as the interview process. Now, you as a candidate, if you are interested in that job, what you have to do is go and tell them that, yeah, I have the required skills and competencies that you are looking for. So I think I'm the right candidate for your job. So how are you going to communicate and tell them, okay, I have the right skills and competencies? That is through a resume, right? So the resume should be a reflection of what skills and competencies you have, what experience you have, why do you think you are suitable for that requirement? Do you think your plan, your career plan, and the organization strategy are going in line with each other? If you think the answer to all these questions is a yes, then you have to prepare your resume and then you have to apply for the job. So a resume is an indicator of your personality type. It's an indicator of your experience. It is an indicator of your passion. All these things in a presentable format given to the organization. So one thing that I would tell is we generally tend to prepare one resume and apply for 20 jobs. So somewhere I think that is where we are missing actually. Every resume has to be tailor-made because the problems of each organization are different. So we can't have a one-size-fits-all strategy for this. Depending on what the organization is looking for, we may have to tweak it a bit. Of course, general information will be the standard, but what we are trying to prove in terms of our skills and competencies will change for every problem statement. So accordingly, tailor your resume. So these are my few tips and tricks for what should be in an ideal resume.
So basically, resume is the first impression, like our first impression on the recruiter. And since it represents our personality, we should be true to ourselves and to the recruiter. We should not lie and present our true selves like that.
Data and honesty is very, very important. We saw that even in the stories that I shared. So the person who is sitting on the other side, the recruiter or the interviewer, they know how to find out whether we are telling truth or we are lying in this. So I have seen some of these resumes where, for example, the objective will be written in a very flashy language and rest of the resume will be in very ordinary English and sometimes with a lot of grammatical mistakes and spelling errors too. When something like this happens, the trust index comes down very badly. Everything that is written on the resume will start becoming questionable. So never get into that situation. It's a disaster and it is the first step towards failure in the interview. Be extremely careful. Data is important. Talk about some of the success stories and talk about some statistics about how you have been able to contribute to bring in the change that has been looked for by the organization. These things will enhance the value of the resume. These things will give more confidence for the recruiter. They understand that, okay, you have the right skills. They understand that you're simply not talking theory. You have the required experience as well. So the first impression itself will be starting from a positive note, and that will be a great help for your upcoming steps.
And I think these insights that you just gave us are going to really help portray our best self for the interview and to make a best resume for the job that we really want. So moving on to the next question that we have, it's like, we as candidates keep on applying to various jobs and, going through various job portals and all. So there's this one question that come into our heads. Uh, the HR managers and the organizations get so many applications through job portals and other websites. So how are these resumes actually shortlisted from a pile of resumes, like coming down from, say, about 100 resumes to about 5 to 7 resumes?
Okay, so multiple things happen here, and time is key. Definitely recruiters don't want to spend hours and hours just going through the resumes, right? So they also try to find ways how they can cut down on the time spent on these initial screening. So one way is we are now in 2020. A lot of artificial intelligence based applications are available. Every single talent management application today will also give an indicator of whether the profile is suitable for the job description or not. So that helps to a great extent on how to bring down the 100 resumes to the 10 or 20 resumes that I want. So as a recruiter, I can decide whether I want to see top 10 or top 20 or top 50 or whatever it is. Internal transfers generally get a little higher priority because it's a win-win situation for both. Company knows what kind of individual is getting into this role, and the employee is happy because his career aspiration is getting fulfilled. The second option is employee referrals. So we know that when our employees are referring their friends or family members, it is basically the chances of cultural fitment are high, and the skill fitment is also high because employees know what kind of organization we are, and if they are still referring, then the fitment is kind of taken care of them. The third thing is that's why we have consultants who actually help us out in screening resumes. So we try to save a lot of time because the initial screening is completely done by the consultants. And the last thing is basically the job sites and doing like a drive, interview drive, weekend drive, getting people and all. Overall, but the strategy depends on what kind of hiring I'm doing. If it is 1-2 positions, the 3 things which I told you works actually: internal transfers, employee referral, consultant, and all. But if it is volume hiring, then we have to do some kind of a drive, and that is when this written test and quantitative assessments and these kind of things actually help. Just to add on to your previous question about ideal resume, so you prepare a resume which actually works for the AI applications, which generally runs on the keywords, and you also include in your resume, ensure that the facts, the personality traits, the skills and competencies are also very clearly indicated to a recruiter, because after the AI shortlisting, it is the recruiter who is seeing the resume. So your resume should address both these actually.
So I think this will again help us in making our resume better. Also, we now have a clarity of how the things work on the other side of the table, how the resumes are shortlisted, and how we as candidates stand as an opportunity to get to the interview side. So that's great. So, ma'am, these days many portals like Coursera are gaining a lot of popularity. People have started doing online courses and all. So, do you think that doing these online courses really help in making our resume stronger or increase our chances of getting jobs?
Yeah, it is good, but it is not good enough, right? I'll put it in both ways actually. So again, to give you or share one of my personal stories, while I was doing my business management course, I was very clear that my career path is in HR. So for that, I wanted some certification, and that's when I went and did a diploma in HR. So when this question came, I was already ready with an answer saying, see, I'm interested in HR. That's why when I was in my second year, I already started doing a diploma in HR. So in cases like this, to justify that I am passionate about this and this is my area of interest, online certifications do help. The second thing is, I think technology is fast changing. What we studied in college, maybe we were studying .NET or mainframes or COBOL or something like that. Today, those things are not used as widely as it used to be before. So for me to hone up my skills, for me to upskill myself, these online certifications are required for that. But why did I say it is not so completely good is because, so preparing or studying for exam purpose, preparing or studying just for certification purpose will not help us. We have to go and understand the subject in depth. And only then, while my CCNA certification on the resume can get the initial shortlist, for me to go further, and I have to be an expert. I have to prove that I am a master. While I have done the certification, I have the in-depth knowledge also. So both are important actually. Do the certification, fine, it helps, but be a master of it. Go beyond that certification also. Certification will just be like a table of contents. You have to go and research a lot more than what is done in the certification.
So that means doing these courses helps us, but we need to, what we are doing, we need to do it with all heart, so that whatever we learn actually stays with us and it does some benefit to us in that sense.
Yes, yes, totally.
So moving on to the next question, when you are doing the recruitments and you are hiring a candidate, there is usually a question that is asked, if I hire you, you'll have to change yourself. We saw this question even in the Three Idiots movie. So how do you think the candidates can handle such type of questions?
So my first tip here is don't get overwhelmed with these kind of questions, right? Understand it's a very, very simple question. If we hire you, are you ready to change? So I look at it this way. If we are changing houses, do we change some of our behaviors? We do. Because say like my room was on the left hand side before, now it has come on the right hand side. I do change my behavior. Instead of moving to the left, I move to the right now. Similarly, when we are changing organizations, we are changing the environment where we are going to be or spending time, we have to change certain behaviors. So it is a very, very natural thing. And we have also heard this famous saying which says like, you can't do the same thing and expect different results. So change is inevitable. I don't think we have a choice there. And as we said, like technology is fast changing. Now you pick up any industry for that matter. Banking industry is now completely automated. They have started using bots. Sports, they use technology extensively to analyze actually. So every single cricketer, the batsman is trying to analyze how the bowler is bowling, what kind of body language he is using, how can he pick up these tricks and understand how he has to respond to a ball. So this is technology again. Or even the COVID situation that we are seeing today, the amount of technology that is being used, the media, the way the visualizations have changed. Media is trying to present the data in a very different, visually and completely pictorially, right? So when all these things are changing, I can't say like, okay, I'm a banker and I'll sit and still work on my ledger books and journal entries. No, change is inevitable. Change is definitely required. So when an organization is asking this question, will you change yourself if you join the organization? Why? The intent behind this question is something that we have to understand. The intent could be because the org itself is going through a transformation. It is at some kind of an inflection point and they are trying to journey through this. And therefore, they are looking for people who are not disturbed by the changes that are happening. It's the VUCA world. We all know that, right? It's volatile, uncertain, ambiguous. It is confusing. And if this is the world in which we are going to work, and if I go back and say like 5 years back, this is how I have worked and I'm going to continue like this, then definitely it gives an indication to the organization that, okay, this person culturally might not fit into my company. So I think let's accept that change is inevitable. Let's not get overwhelmed by this question. We might not say, but each one of us are changing every day. So we just have to accept and say that, yes, I'm ready to change. I don't think there is any organization which is looking for a candidate who will say like, no, 10 years back, I've done something like this and I continue to do like this. I'm sure there is no company who is looking for such a candidate. Then in that case, it is very clear that they are looking for an answer which is saying, yes, I am ready to change. So just present your answer with some of the examples also of how you have brought in changes and how you have been a party to bring in these kind of change in the organization, which has resulted in some success stories. It's as simple as that. I don't think we should get overwhelmed with that.
And I think, it was great to have this question answered by you. Because, when we watch movies, we get very happy by what they portray there. But if we, take the learnings from there, like the Three Idiots taught us that, you have to say, no, I'm not ready to change. So if we go that way, that won't be good for us. And actually, if we look at ourselves, we are actually changing every day. As you just said, change is inevitable and we
Exactly.
cannot, just leave it behind. We have to change with circumstances and we have to be adaptive. It's only then that we get to grow in our life. So let's move to the last question for the day. Uh, Despite the fact that HR managers have a soft copy of our resume, they still ask us to bring a hard copy of it at the time of the interview. Are there any specific reasons to it?
No, there is no science behind this actually. I think it's just the comfort. Just like how they ask candidates, would you like to have some water, coffee, give them the comfort? I think as candidates, we have to give them the comfort too. If somebody is comfortable looking at the hard copy of the resume, so be it. So as candidates, let's also take care of their comfort, right? But there is absolutely no science behind this.
Okay, so actually it's nothing to, get worried about. You just need to take some prints of your resume so that whenever you go for interviews, you know, it's not
That's
just
it.
you take care that you be comfortable. You also need to take care that the person sitting on the other side is also comfortable, right? Then only the things will be good.
That's it. Yeah.
So I think it was great knowing all these answers from you. There were so many questions that were in our head, and you have solved some of them. You've eased the situation for us to an extent. That's wonderful to have you
Thank
here with
you.
us
Thanks,
today.
Aditi. Thanks a lot.
Sure,
If,
ma'am,
if it
definitely.
helps in some way, I'll be really very happy. Okay. All the best to all the job seekers there, and just stay calm and stay safe in this situation. Definitely, there is a good career path waiting for you. So, all the best to all of you.
True, ma'am. And I think, this helps them. And if they have any more queries, they can write to us. Also, like and share the video. This keeps us motivated to keep making new such videos. As I just said, drop your feedback or any questions that you have that you want us to ask on your behalf in the